A talk in the park. In this podcast, Caroline Venn, CEO of pharma.be, talks with special guests. This week, it's Nathalie Moll, Director General of FPA, European Federation of Pharmaceutical Industries and Associations.
Hi, Nathalie.
Oh, Carolina, nice to see you.
Yes, great to see you. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. And you?
Yeah, fine. But it's busy times. And you at FPA, what are you doing for the moment? What's FPA all about?
Well, FPA is the European Federation of Pharmaceutical Industries and Associations. So it represents all the innovative pharmaceutical industries companies that are operating in Europe, whether they are European, global, small, large. And at the moment we have indeed a busy time.
Yes, we know. We are a proud member of FPA, by the way, at pharma.be.
And we're very grateful to have you as one of our members indeed.
Thank you.
I am driven to represent and stand behind Big Pharma.
Well, the reason that I really love to work for this industry, the pharmaceutical industry, is because I love to find solutions to the biggest problems. And as a scientist, I know that this is really the industry that has now the technology, since the genome was discovered 25 years ago, has the drive, has the investment and the patience and the courage to take the risks that it takes to develop products with a 1 in 10,000 probability of success, because this is really the probability of success of a pharmaceutical invention, right? But I really believe in the job that we do, representing these companies and finding the best possible, creating the best possible collaborative environment for them to do business in Europe, for European patients and for global patients.
I think indeed the contribution of the pharmaceutical industry to the health of people is so crucial. If we wish something to people, for example, at the beginning of the year, New Year's or for birthdays, is wishing people a good health. And the biopharmaceutical industry is such a big contributor to that. Studies have shown that life expectancy did increase over a period of 20 years by almost 5 years, and 3/4 of that is thanks to innovative medicines, new treatments for cancer, for also HIV, etc. And you need, of course, to have sound and big companies to be able to bear the risk, to finance that, to bring these therapies to the market, because it also lasts a lot of time to be successful. And actually, I'm proud to working for this industry, contributing to the health of people, but at the same time being a driver for economic growth, for productivity, for innovation. It is an industry that is at the crossroad of entrepreneurship, innovation and health.
Perfect.
Staying at the forefront of innovation is essential for progress and long-term impact.
If we bring innovation to the market, the first step are these clinical trials. So a clinical trial is the first chance a patient has to have a treatment, to be cured even, and especially when there's no other solutions available on the market, I think this is so important. So being at the front of innovation is really bringing value for people. But what's the caveat? That is market access. You know, you have R&D, that's all important, but if it's not translated into market access, then you can't really talk about innovation. So for us, innovation is not only doing the clinical trials and giving these chances to patients, but also to have a broader access to the market. And there in Belgium, unfortunately, we are amongst the number 3 as a pharma value, but not in terms of access of those innovations for patients in Belgium.
Yeah, and this is the strength and the weakness of Europe, is that we're not one system, right? We're 27 countries. We have one approval system for the science, if you like. But then when it comes to reaching patients in different countries, it takes different amounts of time, which is not acceptable, in fact. And it is not acceptable for patients, and it makes it very unpredictable for a global industry to not know when they will reach their market, when they will reach their patients. So we do the clinical trials, and we've lost half in the last 10 years. And this trend of losing clinical trials means we might also lose market access. We might also lose the access to our patients. I think it's really a responsibility to make sure that the whole ecosystem from bench, as they say, in a laboratory all the way to bed, the patient, is as predictable and as fast as possible to make the case for Europe as a pharma destination. This is our job, Caroline, easy.
Europe stands as the global pinnacle of healthcare and innovative medicines.
I think this is really, for me, it's a moment. It's a moment in time where Europe has to decide, make a choice about what it wants to do with its pharma industry. Because 50 years ago, we were the pharmacy of the world. We produced 1 in 2 medicines in Europe for the rest of the world. And today it's 1 in 5. And that's really concerning. We've not only lost the production of pharmaceuticals, but we've also lost the research and development. We used to be number 2 in research and development. Now we're even behind China in terms of new molecules, so the US and China. We've lost 25% of R&D investment in the last 20 years. That R&D investment has moved to China and to Asia, which means there's less research in Europe. This means there are less clinical trials in Europe. We have half the clinical trials of 10 years ago. So there is a trend of Europe losing competitiveness. And this really worries me because we were the pharmacy of the world. We were the vaccine producers for COVID. Remember, we were the ones who first started exporting to everybody else. And I worry that in a few years' time, because of the trend, that won't be possible anymore. And what is needed is the decisions by policymakers today to bet on the industries that make a difference in Europe. An economic difference, like we said before, but also difference in terms of health security. We noticed during COVID how important health security was. It is the moment to choose for Europe about making the right decisions to boost the pharmaceutical industry. And I'm looking for those policy decisions. I'm really hoping we can have the courage to stand behind the successful industries that provide solutions to patients and to the economy.
I think that's very important what you're saying. And within Europe, Belgium is really known as a biopharmaceutical valley. We are very proud of that. We have, in terms of R&D investments, in terms of exports, in terms of clinical trials, we have a top position. I mean, amongst the top 3 in Europe. But we may not lay back, because if Europe is declining in its competitiveness and in its global position, then of course Belgium will do likewise. And we have a very strong ecosystem, which is great academic hospitals, research centers, and of course industry. This is not something that you move very quickly, but not investing anymore is the biggest threat. And I think this message really has to pass through. Let's stay the biopharmaceutical hub as we are in the heart of Europe. And so we need also a strong Europe to make that happen.
The European pharmaceutical industry is being shaken by the current geopolitical situation.
So it's a moment, as I said earlier, Caroline, it's really a moment where the pharma industry in Europe, whether it's European or global or local even, the Belgian companies, is really being shaken by the geopolitical developments. That kind of trend of research and development leaving Europe that I was talking about is just accentuated by the pull of other parts of the world, whether it be Asia or whether it be the US. And that's, for me, a moment to reinvent ourselves. It's a moment where we have to decide whether we want the innovative pharmaceutical industry or not in Europe. And if we want it, then we need the right conditions. And that's really a shared responsibility between the industry, the stakeholders, the policymakers that have to make the right decisions now to make us more attractive and to make us the powerhouse again of the pharma innovation in the world. Why not? I'm ambitious.
You need to be ambitious, but indeed the geopolitical tensions are affecting us. It's 2 challenges actually, Nathalie. It's on the one hand you have the tariffs discussions, which is, even if it's now 15%, but still uncertain, it means that exports of pharmaceuticals towards the United States is getting more expensive, and that there are barriers for trade now. which weren't there for decades. But the other discussion is on the prices of medicines. It is clear that the United States, that there is no longer this willingness to invest more in the value of medicines compared to other countries, such as in Belgium or in other European countries. But if this would stop, then how to finance all this innovation? So it is time, I think, for Belgium to recognize the value of medicines, to make sure that we are also there to invest in the best treatment and not seeing it as a cost.
I totally agree. And I think this is the part of that responsibility of Europe. We want the innovation, we want the best medicines for our patients, but we have to decide what is that worth. And today we can no longer afford to consider these new treatments as if they were the old chronic medicines that we took. Some of them are revolutionary and they have a value over the length of a life of a patient, but also for the whole healthcare system, for the whole of society. And so we need to change our mindset in how we value them and spend more on innovative pharmaceuticals.
Well, thank you very much, Nathalie, for this great talk in the park. We had great weather, and I hope you enjoyed also the conversation.
I really did. Thank you so much, Caroline, and see you soon, I hope.
Yeah, see you soon.